Hi everyone, welcome back to Kravings Food Adventures. I'm Karen Ahmed and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. I'm taking part in the Interac $100 challenge and my challenge is an Indian feast for 10. Yes, you heard me right. I'm going to be preparing an Indian feast for 10 of my son's friends. Now, some of these kids have never had Indian food ever before, and I like to think of myself as an Indian food ambassador. So I'm going to be using creative ways and strategies to prepare items that these kids are already familiar with, and I'm going to give it an Indian twist, and they're going to love this new cuisine. Now, I like to use Interac debit as it uses money I already have, and I don't have to worry about any additional interest or fees. Typically, I start preparing by looking at the flyers online as well as making lists of my own. But when I go into that store, I know I'm going to get inspired with all of the great produce and products and the deals, and I'm going to make some decisions on the spot. Now, let's get shopping. I love to shop, so this $100 challenge is right up my grocery aisle. Whether I'm entertaining, cooking for my family, or thinking up new ideas for my channel, most of my inspiration comes from shopping. 100 Canadian dollars may seem like a lot, but I can quickly burn through this if I'm not careful. First up, produce. Always shop at stores that have a high turnover. That way you know that your produce is always fresh. Shopping by weight is a great way to buy just what you need so you stay on budget. The basics of Indian cuisine can be fairly inexpensive. It's all about balancing simple ingredients and spices. Always take a grocery list with you, either a physical or an electronic one. It's really easy to get carried away and forget items on your list. Most groceries will discount perishables if it's getting close to the best buy date. I need some chicken for my feast today, so I'm going to take advantage of this club pack that is 30% off. Price checking is also important, but look at the quantity you're getting while comparing prices. Wait, I spot a deal and quickly back up. This right here is the deal of my day. This carton of milk is $1. It's more than I need, but I'm going to get it anyway. This store has a great selection of spices, so I'm going to pick up a few must-have basics to prepare this feast. To stay on budget, I'm trying to look for smaller packages. I think I have everything I need and my cart is starting to get really full. It's time to check out so I can rush home and start preparing my feast. Using Interac Flash, I can quickly pay for these groceries and get on my way. And here's another way to save some money. Use reusable bags when shopping, or if you have old bags, recycle them. Here's a neat way to flatten bags. These plastic samosas, as I like to call them, are very easy to store. These are the last of the bags. I got some great deals today using Interac Flash. It was so easy to pay for everything and I stayed on budget. I know you're dying to see what's in these bags, so let's get these groceries unbagged. Here's a rundown of all the groceries and their prices. My grocery bill is 87 Canadian dollars and 81 cents before taxes. The quickest way to defrost puff pastry is to just leave it on the counter and thaw it until I need to use it. I'm going to get started with preparing the basics I will need in the recipes. I'm going to prepare a fresh batch of ginger and garlic paste by simply grinding together ginger and garlic. Typically, I grind this with lime juice as it preserves it longer, but if you're planning to use this right away like I am, water is fine too. I'm also going to grind some ginger and I'm going to leave it in a strainer as I'm going to need that ginger juice later. I need a cup of butter for one of the recipes, but I haven't had a chance to leave it to come to room temp. If you want to thaw out your butter quickly, grate it and leave it on your kitchen counter to come to room temperature faster. Chilies, onions, coriander, and tomatoes are getting sliced, chopped, and diced. I'm going to squeeze some limes and lemon juice and save some of those limes for a garnish later. These garlic naans are incredibly fragrant and they are going to make a great addition to my feast. I'm going to cut these in quarters to make these easy for my guests to eat. I have some semolina here and I'm just going to soak it in some water till I need to use it. There's so many more things I need to do: cut potatoes, blanch tomatoes, and boil eggs. So what's on my feast challenge menu? Kheema puffs, butter chicken meatballs, curried deviled eggs, aloo fries chaat, coconut semolina cake, and they're going to wash everything down with some nimbu pani. This is an Indian style lemonade. All of the detailed recipes are in the description box below and on my site cravingsfoodadventures.com. Now let's get cooking. I'm going to start with the butter chicken meatballs. This is an adapted version of my original recipe. I like to use a fresh tomato base for my butter chicken. The blanched tomatoes are now cool and I've taken the skin off before I puree them. Give the processor a quick rinse. I would have preferred to get pre-ground chicken, would have made it easier. However, this club pack was a great deal and 30% off, so I decided to just cut the chicken into smaller cubes and grind it myself. I'm first going to add onions and green chilies, followed by all of the chicken. Add an egg, salt and pepper, and tandoori masala, and some of that semolina we soaked earlier. Also add coriander and process. The semolina in this mixture is going to fluff up and it's going to absorb a lot of that tandoori spice. For best results, chill the chicken mixture for at least 30 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to start working on another recipe, Aloo Fries Chaat. This modern take on the aloo chaat is a street-side snack made with potatoes, tamarind, and spices. Simply deep fry the cut fries and keep them aside. While the chicken is still chilling in the fridge, I'm going to work on the Kheema puffs. This spicy ground beef filling is going to be encased in crispy puff pastry. Heat some oil and saute some finely diced onion. Add a sliced green chili and fresh ginger and garlic paste. I'm literally going to squeeze the ground beef right into the hot oil. Flatten the ground beef to help it cook faster. Now I'm going to add salt, chili powder, cumin powder, and coriander powder. And I'm going to mix these spices in. I'm also going to add some fresh cracked pepper. Once the beef is almost cooked, add some tomatoes and finally some green peas. Cover and allow this to cook for 5 minutes until the tomatoes are mushy and the peas are cooked. Add salt and fresh coriander and take this off the heat so it can cool down. The chicken is nice and chilled now, so I'm going to work on the sauce that will form the base of the gravy. Heat some oil and add some sliced onion, followed by green chili and some fresh coriander. The fried coriander in this dish adds great flavor. Add ginger and garlic paste and a large chunk of butter. I'm very generous with the butter as I want this dish to be really buttery and delicious. After the butter has melted, add coriander, chili, and cumin powder and fresh pepper. I'm also going to add some salt. I'm going to pour in the tomato puree that I made earlier and allow it to heat up and meld with all of the spices. A word of caution, always keep the lid on or use a deep pot for this recipe as the gravy does tend to bubble. I'm just going to clear up and take a peek at the gravy. Taste for salt and add salt as required. Now, of course, you can make meatballs a regular way, but here's a quick method to make meatballs in half the time. Make sure your hands are always wet. Grab a fistful of the meat with one hand and squeeze the mixture out and grab the ball that forms with the other hand and drop it right into the gravy. This may not make the most perfect looking meatballs, but boy is it quick. I have one layer in, so I'm going to cover it again and turn the heat on. Allow these to cook on one side and then flip them over. Once cooked, just fish out the meatballs and repeat the process. I have a little bit left and I didn't want to overcrowd the pan, so I'm just going to cook these off as well. Turn the heat back on and add some beaten sour cream. Typically, I use heavy cream in my butter chicken recipe, but sour cream is a good substitute. Taste for salt again and add more if required. Add the cooked meatballs back into the curry and toss to coat. Next, I'm going to work on the curried deviled eggs. I make deviled eggs all the time. These are easy to prepare, highly customizable, and delicious. I'm going to slice all of the boiled eggs in half. Wipe your knife in between cuts. Using a mojito muddler, I'm going to press down on the yolks and break them down. You want a nice, smooth, creamy filling. Add salt, chili powder, cumin and coriander powder, and a few tablespoons at a time of sour cream. Typically, I use mayonnaise, but I didn't want to spend almost $5 just to use a few tablespoons, so I opted to use sour cream here. It's lower in fat and tastes great too. Let the filling chill in the fridge so it's easier to handle later. I'm also going to prepare the nimbu pani. This refreshing Indian lemonade is made with limes and lemons, sugar and salt. Sometimes chaat masala is also used, but I think I'm going to leave it out today. Pour the squeezed juice into a bowl and I'm going to add my secret ingredient, ginger juice. Add salt and sugar and give it a good mix. Taste it and adjust the salt and sugar to taste. Next, fill the bowl with water and stick it in the fridge to cool. What's a party without cake? This delicious coconut semolina cake has great texture. Start creaming the butter and sugar together. By grating the butter earlier, it's already at room temp. Add the eggs one by one, beating after every addition. I have milk, semolina, and flour here, and I'm just going to add a little of each at a time, beating in between. I'm also going to add baking powder. Star of the show is this grated or shredded sweetened coconut, and I'm also going to add some pumpkin seeds for color and texture. Typically, I use pistachios in this recipe, but pumpkin seeds were only $1.68 per 100 grams, and it's a great option for my budget. Get this into my buttered cake pan. Give it a tap to remove any air bubbles and cook this for about an hour at 350 degrees. The puff pastry has now thawed and the Kheema has cooled down as well. There are 2 rolls that come in the box, and when you roll it out, you will notice that this is somewhat of a square. Although it's never a perfect square, I like to measure this before I cut. It's always a good idea to make sure that each piece is not sticking to the paper before you add the filling. Using a teaspoon, add some filling to each piece and fold over and press down. Use a fork to seal the deal. I'm going to do the same with the other roll, and when you have them ready, brush with egg wash. Whatever Kheema is left over, I'm going to serve it, as it will go great with that garlic naan. Finish off the deviled eggs. I'm going to add the cooled filling to an icing bag with a large tip, and I'm going to pipe the filling right into the cavity. I filled a small squeeze bottle with some of that tamarind sauce I bought, and I'm just going to dot the eggs with it. Sprinkle with chili powder, chaat masala, and some fresh cracked black pepper. Add finely chopped coriander, and this is ready to be served. Now I'm going to decorate my table and pick out some bowls for the feast. Aloo Fries Chaat is my version of aloo chaat. To make the Aloo Fries Chaat, I'm going to dress the fries with a drizzle of tamarind sauce. Add some chaat masala, red chili powder, fresh pepper, and some chopped coriander. Chaat is usually topped with something crunchy, so I'm going to use these lime-flavored potato snacks to add some crunch. Garnish the butter chicken meatballs with dollops of sour cream, coriander and chili powder, and some ground black pepper. I'm also going to add a chili flower. Chili flowers are incredibly easy to make. Just soak slit chilies in ice-cold water and they will curl out in a few hours. The cake is now cool enough to handle, so I've turned it out of the cake pan, and to top it very simply, I'm going to use some of that leftover sour cream, and I'm going to thin it out with a little bit of milk. Then I'm going to add sugar to taste. Pour it on top of the cake and spread it, allowing it to naturally drip over the sides. Decorate with coconut and pumpkin seeds. My leftover Kheema is also getting garnished with coriander and a chili flower. Serve the Kheema puffs with the delicious and tangy tamarind sauce. The table is laid out for a feast and everything looks amazing. I have a little time to shower and change, and after I'm done, I come downstairs and run around like a headless chicken. Our hungry guests have arrived and they're ready to tuck into the food. time for dessert. And time to leave the kids alone. All the food has been eaten, and I think that the kids thoroughly enjoyed the Indian feast. Right, guys? Yeah! Thank you so much to Interac for sponsoring this video. I really enjoyed this challenge, and I prepared a wonderful feast in under 100 Canadian dollars. If I can do it, you can do it too. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And be sure to check out the playlist at the end of this video for all of the other wonderful challenge videos. Until I see you next time, do take care. Bye.
Dude, that's gross.
Give him like twice.